WNST, Towson Ball, Wisconsin this weekend. We're stuck watching baseball all night and getting ready for what has been a dreadful week for Ravens fans around here. The reverting to the Wembley look and the Pittsburgh look wasn't a good look for us. And meanwhile, the Minnesota Vikings playing some great football. This guy knows 10 years in the league, now on the sidelines in the beautiful new palace of the Twin Cities in downtown Minneapolis. I'm looking forward to getting out there. Ben Lieber is Nacho Lieber. I love that, and it is a verified account, so I know it's true, out on Twitter. He's a K fan out in Minnesota, and all things Vikings on the uptick here at this point. Man, third quarterback, all of this turmoil out there, and Mike Zimmer's got this thing managed. Everybody's got injuries. Nobody's complaining about that in Minnesota right now, right, Ben?
No, not at all. I mean, they definitely had practice from last year with Teddy going out and then a bunch of key injuries at the offensive line. They had to do a lot of shuffling, a lot of hard coaching, and so they really got prepped from last year to handle basically any sort of adversity that comes away this year. And I would say you're starting to see that. I think that the team is playing very tough. They're playing hungry each and every week, and they're certainly not using any excuses for anything.
Well, and the Bridgewater comeback is going to stir the pot a little bit here, and certainly for Case Keenum. Anyone in Baltimore is familiar with Case Keenum. I'm sure Dean Pease is as well. He came out of a tree, out of a deer hunting tree, and beat us within 5 days in Houston a couple of years ago. No one's going to take Case Keenum lightly, and more than that, I watched the game last week against the Bears. He came off the bench when Bradford wasn't looking so good there early, and he looks like he's one of those underrated guys. It's been an understudy for a long period of time that has been given an opportunity here. It looks like he wants to play football in this league, right?
I know it. You know, I think he came in with certainly a hunger in his eyes and a determination to not just be a backup quarterback. And the more that we learn about him is, you know, this is sort of how he's always been all the way back to college in Houston, that very well prepared. He was labeled as a system quarterback, but never really saw himself as just a system quarterback. And I think he's starting to prove that he can pick up things, he can read defenses, he understands what the coordinators want out of him and where guys are going to be. And I think the most important thing, just watching him personally on the sidelines, is he's commanded the leadership and earned the leadership and respect of all the players on this team. And sometimes it's hard to do as a backup quarterback. You know, when your starter goes out, I mean, you look at what happened with Green Bay, and Hundley comes in, and I'm sure the guys respect him, but I don't think guys had a lot of faith and trust that he could run the offense and run it well. And not that he's going to run it to the level of Aaron Rodgers, but I think when Case has come in and proven himself, no longer is he kind of viewed by his players and his peers as a backup quarterback. And I think that's monumental when it comes to just the confidence of the offense and how the offense can operate, and how Pat Shurmur can use him.
I mean, you had a nice career in the league and a couple of stops, but you got to learn a system in Sadie. You got to learn a system in Minnesota, right? And when you're the backup quarterback, especially when you're the 3 and you're bouncing around and you're not the golden child, you know, moving from franchise to franchise, quarterback coach, offensive coordinator, schemes, terminology, language, all of that goes into that. There is something about it that once you get to your 5th or 6th team and you come in, within the first week, they probably figure out whether you're quick on the study and a quick learner. And certainly this guy has touched more coaches, more quarterback coaches than anybody. You would think that this far in that there would be a grasp of all of this that would be like a higher level of education than if you just were in one system for 5 years and learning from one set of coordinators and one set of quarterback coaches. He's taken the hard way to do this thing, right?
Yeah, he certainly has. And I think that just goes to show us what type of character he has and who the guy is inside. That it's still hard. I mean, I know that you pick up things as you go from each team and each offense or each defense, but it's still very, very difficult to come in and learn the personalities, and especially with that quarterback-receiver relationship that we always talk about. You know, you have to develop that, and that just takes time. It takes repetition, and again, it takes trust, and you have to understand where everybody's going to be. Pinpoint accuracy on the field, as opposed to maybe a defensive player just like, oh, well, this is cover 4, and this is what we called it here, and it's a little different than what we called it at another place. I think offensive systems are a little bit more intricate and complex when it comes to adding all the pieces in. So, definitely he has done that. Again, coaches trust him. They know that he's a very smart player, obviously, that he can come in and do all this stuff, as was Sam Bradford. Sam Bradford had a tough transition last year, and it was no easy thing to come in and learn North Turner's offense in about 2 weeks, less than 2 weeks' time, and he did pretty well. And then all of a sudden, halfway through the season, Norm Turner retires, and he goes back to the old system with Pat Shurmur, and he's got to kind of recall all of that information too. So quarterbacks is a special and very unique position, and that's why you want to see a few guys that can play it really well.
Ben Lieber is on the sidelines for all things Vikings for K-Fan in Minneapolis. He'll be out there on Sunday. He's Nacho Lieber on Twitter, and you can go find him there as well. One thing you see on the sidelines is one hell of a defense out there right now, and certainly this is what Mike Zimmer was trying to accomplish when he came in from Cincinnati, and they've built this thing. And I've asked a bunch of people this week, who's the best player on that defense? I mean, there's like 5 guys in that conversation, no one standing out, yet kind of sort of all of them stand out, right?
Yeah, there's a guy or two at every level they're just probably all pros when it comes to the end of the year accolades. Linval Joseph up front, I think, just makes everything go. I think he's been one of the key contributors to this defense being a better run defense than last year, thus making it a better defense on third down. And then you have Everson Griffin, he is tenacious. He's like a little Tasmanian devil out there. The guy never stops. His motor never stops. His mouth never stops. He is entertaining. He's fun to watch. He wears out every left tackle throughout the game. He's bound to get, now the trend is he's getting a sack every game. So he's going to get some pressure. He's going to get a sack most likely in this upcoming game against the Ravens. And then you've got Anthony Barr at the linebacker positions playing very well. People questioned, early on in his career, just sort of his motivation and what makes him go and why he was so inconsistent and up and down. But for his size and speed and athleticism, he should be able to dominate, and he's starting to do that. And I think he's starting to understand what it takes to be a consistent player every week. Xavier Rhodes, nobody wants to throw to him. The guy just shuts down any big-time receiver that the offense has. They lock him up. He travels all over the place with that guy, and by and large has played at an all-pro level as well. And then Harrison Smith as a safety, the last couple of games, back-to-back interceptions, had a sack and a half this last game. The guy he does everything. He can play center field. He can play in the box. He can blitz off the edge. He truly is the utility tool for the defense. But really, there's a guy at every level that's just playing lights out right now.
Ben, you getting on the plane with the team Sunday night, going over to London for a week?
Yeah, you know what? I think they leave on Wednesday, so they're gonna take the short route. I guess there's not as many obligations for them this time around, so I will have a bunch of movies loaded. I'm gonna sit back, relax, and enjoy that flight. We'll do a couple of radio shows from out there, enjoy some practice, and take in London. I've never been, so I'm excited to go.
Dude, everything was great for us 3 weeks ago until the game started. And then I looked up, and it was 44-0, and I'm like, what the hell hit us? It's breakfast. I mean, we don't have Bloody Marys in us at home, and we're losing 44-0. We look forward to that trip forever, and it was great until it started. I wish we could just play the Browns over there, but we play them twice every year, so, we can't complain about that part of it. But we're going through your division right now, and obviously we saw the Bears, and it was not a good look for the Ravens over the weekend at all. Now we come out and see you guys. We'll see Detroit later. But that trip to Green Bay we have in late November, as well as you guys play there Christmas weekend, it changes a whole lot when the Anthony Barr hit happens and Rodgers. And I think it doesn't just shake up the teams in the division. I think it shakes up the whole conference as to what the possibilities are with Green Bay looking less and less likely to be a double-digit win team without Aaron Rodgers. Everything changes, and I think it changes with the Bridgewater thing coming back. But the Vikings are in the middle of this thing right now with that Super Bowl date waiting in your stadium coming up in about 14 weeks. I know there's a lot of pressure going on there as well, but the Rodgers thing has been sort of it's a monsoon for everybody in the division, right?
Yeah, it really is. That hit, within seconds of knowing that he was going to be out for basically the whole season. it changed the whole landscape and the whole approach. And I think you saw one franchise in the Packers have a collective depression, and their heads are down, and I think they all know that the season's basically over. I think they only won 2 games the last time that he broke his other collarbone. So history's not on their side. And you got to think that this division is tough. You know, Chicago's starting to figure things out. I think Trubisky has a lot of tools and skill set, but, you know, obviously he's young. They have a strong running game. Detroit is much better, not the Detroit of old, and the Vikings are always in it as well. So it definitely changed the landscape of the North, and it certainly changed the landscape of the whole conference. And I think they went from, you know, favorites and potential favorites for the Super Bowl now to, I don't know if they're going to get out of the division, you know, with more than a couple of wins.
Knowing how much, and you wore that uniform, the Packers and the Vikings fans don't like each other, and the state line bar there that's half green and gold and the other half's in purple that I drove by when I went up to Rockfest in Cadott, Wisconsin many moons ago. You know, I would say the Packers winning a Super Bowl in Minnesota would have been really, really unpalatable to the people of your state, correct?
You know how many people have thought about that? I mean, the second that it was announced, and this is years ago, like when it was announced that the Vikings were gonna have the I guess Twin Cities were gonna have the Super Bowl. Immediately, it was all the cheeseheads in town. They're like, oh, we can't wait to celebrate our Super Bowl victory in your stadium, and blah blah. And people would get mad. And now that, and I do think that there is a large fan base of Vikings fans that are excited that Rodgers got hurt, and they're happy that their worst nightmare may not come true now. So, yes, it has been a topic of conversation for a couple of years now, and all signs are sort of pointing towards that not happening at this point.
Tell me about the stadium and the Super Bowl and sort of the buzz going on around there. I'm an old guy, Ben. I was there in the '92 Super Bowl many moons ago. I still got some frostbite from that ice thing over in St. Paul, as I remember it. But we're going to do 9 days out there. I'm coming in for the game this weekend. You know, I'm excited about it. First of all, I love to brag that I've been to all 32 stadiums, and I could for a little while, and then all of a sudden they started building new ones in Minnesota and in Atlanta. Every time you think you got them all, you don't. So part of it for me is new stadium, but the Super Bowl buzz there and the team being good enough, right? Like good enough that conversation will probably be open, you know, through the next 6 or 8 weeks if the team can continue to play the way it has. That really stokes a lot of something that not a lot of cities get a chance to talk about in December, hosting a Super Bowl at home, right?
Yeah, I mean every team wants to be competitive and be in the conversation, you know, after Thanksgiving, and I truly think that this team is set up to do that. I don't think they're going to score as many points with Dalvin Cook being out, but I certainly with the defense playing the way it is, they're going to be competitive. So let's hope that is true going into December. That they're in the conversation, they're in the hunt. They obviously know that they could be playing a Super Bowl in their home stadium, but this community and this state, really, I mean, this is not just a Minneapolis-St. Paul Super Bowl. This is a statewide thing, and everybody around the state is excited. There's, you know, thousands and thousands of volunteers already signed up. It sounds like there's going to be a 10-day event and festival. You know, people are really, you know, as you know, being up here several times, it sounds like people embrace the cold weather up here, and I think that's the mindset that fans and visitors are going to have to accept. Is like, it is going to be cold, but there's going to be a lot of things inside. There's going to be a lot of things outside. We have an area of downtown called Nicollet Mall that's going to be transformed into basically, I don't know, maybe 8-9 blocks of just this NFL experience. That's all going to be outside.
Dude, I took a selfie with Mary Tyler Moore there once in Nicollet Mall, so I know what you're talking about. It's a great statue, man.
Yeah, so they've redone it. They've widened it out. They've done it all just for the Super Bowl, and they're going to have all these events between both cities, St. Paul and Minneapolis. They're gonna pile in a bunch of other annual carnivals and things that happen in the Twin Cities every year. They're going to sort of sandwich that around the Super Bowl as well. So for the people of the state, it's going to be 10 days to 2 weeks of just straight parties. And if anybody knows anything about this area of the country, we have a lot of pubs, a lot of beer, and people love to party, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, good. I mean, I'm coming in on Saturday night. It's perfect. They're sticking me out in Bloomington for a week at Super Bowl. Ben Lieber joining us here. Is Nacho Lieber out on Twitter, and the not just the player with the Vikings, but now the sideline reporter down there. You enjoying your gig, your post gig? We've Dennis Pitt has sort of fallen into that here this year. A lot of players, Kadri Ishmael here, did that for a number of years. Rob Burnett and other guys. There is something about staying near the game and being down there and having the level of expertise you have. You enjoying this part of your life?
Yeah, I really am. I'm really starting to embrace it the last couple of years. It's new. I didn't go to school for broadcasting, and so the whole thing has just been a learning experience. And as you know, you sound like you've been in the business a long time. I'm sure you're still learning about things. So that'll never end. But it has been a lot of fun to be still around football. I also work as a Fox Sports color analyst for college football as well. So I travel most Saturdays and fly in for the Vikings games on Sundays. So it's football all weekend. And it's a lot of fun, and it keeps me busy, and I'm definitely enjoying it.
What college games you had lately?
The last one was the Iowa State-Oklahoma game for Fox, in which Iowa State knocked off the number 3 team in the country. We head out to Baylor in West Virginia this weekend, and then here in a couple weeks we have UCLA at Utah. So schedule sort of just kind of comes out when it comes out.
Well, they won't let you back in Oklahoma after what you did to them last week, right?
Yeah, I know. It's one of those things you have to stay unbiased, but there's a part of me that I love what Matt Campbell's doing at Iowa State. I was so happy for him and what he's trying to build there. And being a Kansas State alum, I'm a big fan of the Big 12. So I was sort of saddened to see Oklahoma get beat just because they've been snubbed in the playoff system the last couple of years, and I'd like to see a Big 12 representative. Maybe TCU gets in there, but Oklahoma was the best chance, and that seemed to sort of go down the drain with that loss.
Last thing for you. I've gotten to know Mike Zimmer sort of on the periphery through the years. I'm close with Marvin in Cincinnati from my Baltimore roots. And, I know everything he went through with his wife. And, I almost lost my wife twice, who she battled leukemia a couple times. So, I can't imagine the emotion of everything he went through there. Then taking the job, coming in, the eye problems that he's had off the field, and trying to bring something to Minnesota that nobody's seen, which is a Super Bowl. I know it's a way of life and it's a belief system up there, but for Zimmer to come in and make the defense this much better, I really like him, and I see why he's had the success he's had. You played on that side of the ball, worked for a lot of coaches, played under a lot of coaches. When you see him, it feels like, yeah, they could win with him there. And certainly so far so good managing through a third-string quarterback and a backup running back and all of the problems that they've had there. This thing might really turn around the next 6 weeks if Bridgewater can come back, because he's been the kind of leader that I think everybody responds to there. There could be a real happy ending in Minnesota this year, right?
Well, yeah, I definitely hope so. In regards to Mike Zimmer, there couldn't be a more perfect fit. I do think that there was a large part of the players and the organization that was sad to see Mike Tomlin go after 1 year of being defensive coordinator, because I think everybody understood how talented he was. I think there was a mentality that fit here in Minnesota very well. And now several years later, I think they found another guy that's super talented and fits the mentality of, strong defense. This is a tough-minded fan base, just being within this sort of Nordic culture in Minnesota. And I think everybody knows about the Purple People Eaters back in the 70s. So, this is as close as I think you can get to that, having a dominant defense, a no-nonsense head coach that is going to tell it like it is. And, within the players, they love him, they respect him, but they also understand that he keeps life uncomfortable. And I think that's really the mark of a good coach, is relating to players, teaching the players, but also you have to keep them uncomfortable and keep them digging every single day. And he sort of lives that mantra, through his wife's situation, through his eye situation, like you said. He's just been a grinder, and he's sort of walking the walk, and guys respect that, and they want to follow in his footsteps. So, I think he's done a tremendous job. I think he's done more with less when it comes to injuries and some of the talent level that he's been around. If he had an Aaron Rodgers on his team, I think he'd have multiple Super Bowls already.
I guess the other thing with this, you say keeping people uncomfortable. The whole franchise is a little uncomfortable with Keenum at quarterback and Bridgewater coming back because, the team as well as anybody, Ben, and you can't sit here and tell me who's going to be the quarterback 6 weeks from now. There's no telling, and the Bridgewater thing is really the great unknown here in the middle of the season. The one thing is he's got a pretty good team to come back to that's going to be in a good situation if he indeed comes back, and I don't think there's anybody in the building pulling against him, but this is going to be an interesting management decision, especially if Bridgewater makes it a difficult decision by coming back and being completely healthy, right?
Well, right, and I think it's going to make it even more difficult if he actually has an opportunity to come in this season in regular season snaps and performs well. Then you really have to make a decision. I think the decision's a little bit easier if Case continues to play well. This is all assuming that Sam Bradford does not come back healthy throughout the course of the season. But if Case, they're going to ride the hot hand of Case, and he keeps playing well, and let's say he never has a bad game or a stretch of bad games and he doesn't get injured, then I don't see how Teddy's going to get in the game. I don't think you make that change with all the good vibes and energy that they have going on right now. So it would take something like that for Teddy to get in, for them to really evaluate what they have for next year and hopefully the years going forward. No doubt he is beloved within his community. He's beloved within the organization. People pull for him. I mean, he gets standing ovations when he's at games, just waving to the crowd. I mean, people want to see Teddy do well. The thing is, business is business. He's learning that the hard way. The fan base obviously understands that. They don't necessarily love that. But if the team is winning, I don't know how you can make any necessary changes and just throw Teddy in there. So it will definitely be interesting to see how the rest of the season plays out.
I love how you say, good mojo, good energy. We had that last week, and then we played. It's a week-to-week league, isn't it? I mean, you only feel good about it for a little bit. Dude, we were awful last week. We were awful against Jacksonville, awful against Steelers. It really has been like, a Jekyll Hyde thing week to week around here, and I don't know what version of the Ravens you're getting coming in, but certainly not a good one if you put on the projector from last week. That's for sure.
Well, certainly, as a player, and these guys, what they say in the media is true. I mean, you can't look at all these things and think, oh, we're going to steamroll these guys because they've been inconsistent, they've got injuries, quarterback is not playing that well. So,
we said all that about the Bears last week.
I mean, the Vikings will be ready for sure to get the Ravens A game, and sometimes, going on the road, that's what you need sometimes as a team. I don't know. I don't really have any answers for you guys and what you guys need to do, but certainly they're not going to be overlooked, and I think the Vikings are expecting a battle.
And I'm waiting to hear that damn horn that annoyed me the last time I was up there, going off again and again and again. Hey, I appreciate the time and you coming on and chat with us. Give Paul Allen our best there. You're learning your broadcasting under the best out there in the Twin Cities, man.
Yeah, I agree, man. Thanks a lot, and appreciate you having me on, and anytime you want to tap on me, let me know.
You got it, man. Ben Lieber joining us here. Nacho Lieber out on Twitter. One of the voices of Vikings football as the sideline reporter for the K-Fan broadcast, also with Fox and running around doing college football as well. Follow him out on Twitter. He's a wonderful beach scene there. It does look like Mexico, though, so it looks like I can't drink the water. I'm not sure. You can find me out in the buyatoyota.com audio vault 24 hours a day from anywhere in the world on your mobile device by downloading the TuneIn Radio app. We do come in crystal clear from anywhere you happen to be. Don't forget, Friday's a big day. I'm going into the only Hall of Fame they're ever going to let me in, the Dundalk High Hall of Fame. We're going to be at Costas having crabs and crab cakes and beer and all the good stuff, maybe even some cake from my birthday from last week on Friday night. Right around 7 o'clock, come on out to celebrate if you want to. The ceremony's at 4:30. The game starts at 6. And if you're a Dundalk High alum, good on you. Old Owls give a hoot. I'm going to wear my jacket and sing the alma mater on Facebook Live before it's all over with this week. You can find me anytime, anywhere, out on the internet. Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, Snapchat, Instagram, streaming live on our Facebook, as well as our YouTube, WNSTV channel. I'm Nestor. We are WNST.net, AM 1570, and WNST Towson, Baltimore, and we never stop talking Baltimore sports.